Hello, I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. I'm delighted to welcome fellow Columbia University Law School graduate Kimberly Harris to the program today. We took very different paths after graduation, but the skills we gained in law school have served each of us very well. We'll discuss her journey from the prestigious law firm of Skadden Arps to becoming CEO of America Needs You, which won the prestigious New York Community Trust Nonprofit Excellence Award. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
So you grew up in Chicago.
Yes.
Tell me about your family background, and did you always know you would go to college?
Absolutely, yeah. No, so I was not born in Chicago, but lived there. My family moved there at the age of 5, and I started in Chicago Public Schools, ended in Chicago Public Schools, and both of my parents went to college. My mom received an associate's degree. My dad was an engineer, civil engineer, and so for me, college was never a question.
Okay.
I always knew that I would go, and was always tracking for that, and really learned a lot from my academic experience. Also learned a lot in my home environment. My parents ran a small business. We sold Gatorade and chips and ice cream bars on the lakefront of Chicago. And so really getting that experience of that small business as an early, at an early age. I would work for them, at the age of 6, 7, and would help my dad with the inventory and really understood profit margins.
Okay.
And things of that nature that helped me to think broadly about, my career and how I wanted to kind of grow and develop.
And then you were a business major at the University of Michigan?
Exactly, yeah. I went to Michigan at the time, Michigan, and still they have one of the best undergraduate business programs. And so stemming from the small business that I worked on with my parents, that really helped me to kind of shape my academic aspirations and to study business.
What made you decide to go to law school?
Because of the way that the University of Michigan Business School was structured, it was very similar to an MBA program. It was a 2-year program that you joined during your junior and senior year in college. And so for me, I didn't really want to pursue an MBA, but I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. And actually, Ken Schnault came and spoke at the University of Michigan about his experience. He also received a JD, and his experience in law school and how really learning how to think like a lawyer helped him professionally as a leader. And so then I started exploring law school, and I was actually the first in my family to attend law school.
It's sort of a good all-purpose degree.
Exactly.
So after graduating from law school, you did what some would consider a young lawyer's dream. You went to work for a large New York City law firm. What kind of work did you do there?
I was an M&A attorney. So very early in law school, while I loved studying business in undergraduate business school, law school was so different and really spoke to different skill sets. So I had a huge kind of learning curve and transition when I was studying law. And so I kind of fell back onto my prior interests in business, so knew that I wanted to pursue a corporate transactional path. So I was an M&A attorney. I had a small stint in the banking and finance division at my law firm, and then was in the M&A group. So I merged.
You said M&A?
Mergers and acquisitions.
Okay, all right.
So we merged some of the largest companies around the world, really. I also had an opportunity to go on a secondment, which is a short-term stint at a client site where I supported M&A advisory investment bankers. So that was also a really enriching experience. So I really felt like I had a very diverse and robust practice.
Okay. You sound like you're very happy there.
I was. I really was. I thought that my law firm, I always told them I would have never left to go to a different law firm because of the types of experiences that I had, both in terms of kind of drafting and negotiating deals, but also the managing teams and bringing all of these kind of large stakeholders together around a common goal. And so that to me was really invigorating and exciting. I got to go work on some of the really exciting deals and keep in touch with my colleagues to this day.
So what made you decide to leave a large law firm and go to head a nonprofit?
So there were a couple of things at play. So for me professionally, I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer in the long run, and so I started to explore different things. So I looked at going in-house, but at the end of the day, still be an attorney. So I explored a lot of different things and was really fascinated by startups and wanted to really continue to hone my management skills. The things that I loved about working in a law firm were really developing junior associates and deal management and client development opportunities. So I wanted to kind of continue to develop those skills in a new space, and so I explored going to a startup. So things that were important to me, I wanted to do something that was strategic. I wanted to help to grow an organization or a company, and I wanted to work someplace where I really believed in the product.
And you had been a volunteer at America Needs You, right?
Right.
In fact, you were one of the founders?
I was a founding board member of then New York Needs You. So in 2009, while I was still an attorney, a good friend of mine, Robert Refkin, who's the founder of New York Needs You, now America Needs You, he called me with this concept on how to find a way to revolutionize mentorship for first-generation college students, because we learned that only 11% of first-generation college students were expected to graduate. And while there are all of these really wonderful programs that help students to get into college, that wasn't enough, and our students were not graduating. So we wanted to build really intensive curriculum around careers and to really dual-track the program so students were on track academically and were also simultaneously pursuing careers. So I jumped to the chance to get involved. So I first started out as pro bono counsel and then joined on as a founding board member. And I stepped into my current role as CEO in 2013 when the organization decided to move forward as a national organization.
Okay. So the organization's mission is specifically to help low-income, first-generation college students complete college and go on to satisfying careers, correct? Okay. So you mentioned the number that only 11% of these first-generation college students actually graduate from college. Why is that?
Well, a whole host of reasons. We did a lot of research around that. And one of the things that was most surprising to me is that of the 89% that are dropping out of school, most are dropping out in academic standing, in good academic standing. So it's not really for academic purposes. We found with our student population that financial constraints can be a very significant issue. Opportunity costs. Many of our students, not only are they the first in their families to go to school, but they are also, they're all exclusively from low-income families. And so many of them are working jobs and bringing home meaningful income to their parents. And so a lot of students say, why should I go to school where I can work this job in retail and eventually make it up to a certain position? So we really push our students to think more broadly about their careers and really understand what the long-term prospects are if they are just to stay on track and to continue to work. But there are a lot of challenges along the way. I think another issue is isolation. Being on campus for the first time, not fully understanding the vast resources that are available, not really having a network to pull from and to really help them to keep them motivated.
Right.
So there are a lot of different challenges that our program aims to address.
Including questioning probably the value of a college education.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now you have programs in New York City, Jersey City, and Chicago, right?
Yes.
How many students in each program and how many have been through altogether?
So since our inception, we formed the program in 2009 and launched in New York in 2010. So since our inception, we've worked with over 700 students in our flagship Fellows program. And I can tell you a little bit about that in a second. Currently, we have about 300 students across our 3 sites. And the Fellows program...
No, go ahead.
Our Fellows program is really designed to help students to select, to secure, and to succeed in careers. So we worked with Pearson Education to develop our intensive curriculum, and it covers everything from resume writing to interview skills to elevator pitches, those things that you need to get your first opportunity, but also kind of the softer skills that help to keep you on track academically and professionally once you get those opportunities. So things like managing up and time time management, taking initiative, confidence building. It really is a holistic approach to developing students. And one of the things that's really unique about the program is our mentor model. So we match students one-on-one with mentors who coach them through our extensive curriculum. And the mentors are young professionals themselves, just starting out in their careers. So they're close enough to the students where they understand their journey and their challenges, but they have enough of a track record for success that they can have some really rich content to share.
And you also facilitate their getting internships with potential employers?
Exactly. We really like to teach our students how to fish, so we encourage them to create internship action plans. In fact, that's one of the first assignments that they work on with their mentors once they're matched up together. And that roadmap will identify the students' interests, their skills, their prior experiences, and help them to create a plan to securing a summer internship. And simultaneously, we work with corporate partners, some of the best companies and organizations all around the world, and those organizations provide us with internships for
your own students,
as well as volunteers.
Okay,
so we really try to create strong strategic partnerships.
Okay, and there's also a development grant portion to your program?
Yes, we recognize that we have a very intensive program, and our students they're spending about 6 to 8 hours with us every other Saturday, and that's valuable time where they would be studying or working or taking care of family obligations. So we give our students small grants, about $2,000 grants, so that they can, take an LSAT class. If they want to go to law school, an MCAT class, get a new laptop, buy professional attire for their internships. Mm-hmm. We keep it broad because we know our students have different types of needs, but they all use those grants towards enhancing their professional development.
So every person in the Fellows Program gets a $2,000 grant,
exactly.
And they can use it however they like?
Yes.
Okay.
So long as it's for professional development purposes.
Okay. Now, the requirements to get into the program, they have to be enrolled in college, full-time.
Yes.
Full-time?
Full-time in college.
And for New York, it's in a CUNY institution,
exactly.
Right?
We made a very strategic decision back in 2013 to exclusively partner within the CUNY space. We have such an amazing relationship since the very beginning, and we've gotten some incredible, and some of our most engaged students from the CUNY system. So we shifted our approach. We recruit CUNY freshmen attending community colleges as well as four-year schools. All of them need to be the first in their families to go to school from low-income families, and we have an application process. So we have,
and they have to maintain a 3.0 GPA.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yes, a 3.0.
And they must have been involved. They must have demonstrated some kind of effort to improve their own community, right, or something?
Yes, absolutely. We want our students not only to take the tools and resources and to make themselves better and lift themselves up, but also to invest in their families and in their community. So, for example, one of our students, she took our curriculum that she learned some of the curriculum around mock interviews, and she gave her mom a mock interview, and she helped her mother to secure a higher paying job.
Okay.
A number of students have started their own nonprofits or other companies and organizations where they're implementing kind of the content that we provide to them. So we really want to kind of create a multiplier effect so that we're not just impacting the direct students that we serve, but also their broader communities.
Now, my experience and I teach at CUNY, my experience of CUNY students is that almost all of them hold jobs while going to school, sometimes several jobs. And to be working, to be going to school full-time, to maintain a 3.0 average, and to have also done some kind of community service, that's a really tall order.
It is. It is. And then you don't even see the personal side of it. Our students have, faced everything from abuse to potential homelessness to hunger. I mean, it's a very high need population. So, what happens behind the scenes is almost more impactful than, everything that's on their plate. And, that's why we believe in our students. That's why we think, look, if you can navigate all of these challenges and if you can work a full-time job and support your family, many of our students are even single moms, single fathers. If you can support your family and really just build yourself up and create the tremendous opportunities for yourself. And you can handle issues in the boardroom if you're negotiating a deal or if you're working on building a company. You can those issues, once you have that grit and that confidence and that resilience to navigate some of those issues that our students are dealing with, we believe that will create dividends down the road for them as they enter the workforce.
We're going to take a short break, then we'll be back with more with Kimberly Harris, CEO of America Needs You, after this message. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Kimberly Harris, CEO of America Needs You. So how do you find your fellows?
We find our fellows through having campus liaisons on all of the academic institutions where we run the program. So we work with liaisons who help us to identify students. As you mentioned, it's a really tall order and it's a very rigorous application process. So we want to make sure that we have students who are going to be truly committed to the program. But what we found since we launched our program is that our students actually end up going back to help us to recruit other students. They share their experiences in the program and the real value and difference that it's made in their lives, and they use that to help to bring in more students into the broader community.
Do you get more applicants than you can accept?
We do. We have about a 3-to-1 ratio. So,
wow.
So we're hoping, and that's why we are in the process of doing our strategic planning so that we can continue to build out our program offering and reach as many first-gen students as we can.
So in New York, you get about how many new students a year? How many new fellows?
We take in 100 students in the New York program every year, and it's a 2-year program. So at any given time, we have about 200 students in New York. New York is our largest program.
Okay.
We have 85 in New Jersey, and we launched with a class of 50 in Chicago.
Just this year?
This July.
Oh. How do you find your mentors, and who are they?
Our mentors are so dedicated. I mean, similar to the fellow side where students go through an application process, our mentors do the same because we know we're relying so heavily on them. We need them to be to attend our workshops and to really be great advocates for our students. So they go through an application process that's also available on our website, and they write an essay, and we also interview them, and we find them through word of mouth. It was funny when we first created our program. The founding board members, we would just call our mentees and our friends and say, "Hey, we're launching this program. Please come out and donate your time." And from that, it just created kind of this domino effect where people just spread awareness for the organization through word of mouth. And we also leverage our corporate partners to help us to identify mentors.
Do your mentors tend to skew towards younger as opposed to?
Yeah, our mentors are about 3 to 7 years into their career, so they're younger on the career spectrum, but we really, that's intentional because we want them to be close enough in age to the fellows where they really can connect to them and to really help them to meet their needs. But we want them to have some sort of professional experience so that they can use those experiences to really advise and coach our students.
How much time do the mentors spend with the fellows?
Over 200 hours over the course of 2 years. So there's a formal requirement to attend the professional development workshops, but outside of workshops, our mentors also are required to check in either by text or by phone call. They do events together. One of our mentors just took her mentee to a Broadway show. Another mentor was helping her student to transfer from community college to a 4-year school and took her on a college tour, and they were driving all over the state looking at schools because she didn't have the opportunity to do that in high school when she was applying to school. So our mentors go above and beyond for our students. And
what's the structure for the fellows in the program? Is there a kind of progression through the 2-year program? And if so, what is it like? What does it look like?
Sure. So it's highly interactive. So let's say you were attending a workshop. You would come in, you'd have your workshop booklet, which has all of the information on the content that we would be providing.
And these are workshops, about twice a month?
Yeah, every other Saturday.
Okay.
And we start the scope and sequence. We spent a lot of time developing it because we wanted to really align our our content and our offering with recruitment cycles for internships. So students will start the program and they'll start working on elevator pitches so that they know how to start to build their network, resumes, mock interviews, and then we start focusing more on the softer skills in the second year of the program. So students, once they're in their internships, really have the soft skills that they need to be successful, because the employer data that we're getting says across the board, for first gens and also just students generally, employers are saying they're not prepared for college. They're not prepared for the workforce once they graduate from college. So we want our students to really develop those soft skills, which are critical skills identified by employers that are really lacking.
What kind of skills are we talking that tend to be lacking?
So skills like how to write a professional email, or how to manage up, how to navigate a complex situation, how to be accountable in the workforce. So skills that aren't necessarily apparent and aren't necessarily connected to the subject matter. So we really want our students to have all of the hard skills to actually do the job, but then the softer skills to navigate some of the political issues or other complex things that they'll just face generally. So, for example, we recently had a public policy session that was actually led by some of our mentors on the Syrian refugee crisis. And we talked about how can you have a substantive conversation about very controversial issue in a way that's professional, and how do you kind of navigate situations where you might be offended by something. Without
getting into a fist fight.
Exactly,
right?
We definitely don't want that
right.
happening. So we really try to help our students to kind of sidestep any issues, or to give them the tools to really to navigate some of the scenarios that they will deal with inevitably in the workforce as their careers progress.
Do all of your fellows do internships at some point in the program?
They do. In fact, our students are required to have 2 internships, and 94% of our students end up interning. And those are sourced, as I mentioned, from our corporate partners, from mentors. Many mentors have hired our students. And I think what's really special is that the student has their one person that's dedicated to their professional development, but they also have the broader mentor coach pool. So they can say, okay, well, maybe my mentor isn't at the company that I want to work for, but someone else's mentor is, and they build relationships across the board and really establish a strong network to help them to identify not just internships but full-time jobs.
Right.
That's the goal. That's the finish line that we strive for.
So how do you measure success?
We measure success in many ways. So we have short-term goals around internships, also participating in the program and attendance. We track attendance regularly, and if we notice a student is missing a couple of sessions, that could be grounds for dismissal. So we're very strict about attending the workshops. But really, at the end of the day, our mission is to fight for economic mobility. And so what is really important is that our students are graduating. They're graduating with jobs, and they're in an interest of their choosing. So 96% of our students graduate from college, compared to 11% of first-generation college students nationally. 90% of our students are graduating with jobs or enrolled in graduate school. The average income is $53,000, so as of graduation. Starting income.
Okay.
So as of graduation, our students are entering the middle class. And 91% of our students are in an interest of their choosing. That's a really important metric for us, because we focus so much on career exploration and pushing students to think broadly about what their careers should look like.
So who funds your program?
We have a lot of diverse funding sources. So we host special events. So we host a large-scale gala. We just hosted a party with the Giants. We have a young leadership board. So we do a lot of special events just to really engage kind of the younger community, to help us to also not just raise money, but to also recruit mentors. We get about 20% of our funding through foundations, and that's a mix of local foundations as well as national foundations. Over 10% of our income comes through corporate partnerships, because we recognize we're providing a diverse source of talents for our corporate partners. So we want them to pay for it.
Right. Right.
And then also individual giving. We have a number of individuals in our network who have been generous to make multi-year gifts. It's been one of our big priorities in really creating a sustainable financial model.
Do you also get public funding? Do you get any public funding?
We do. We've actually had a couple of recent partnerships. We're trying to expand in that space, especially as the organization grows. We actually worked with the Jersey City Mayor's office to help them to develop a mentor program and received funding through that. We're also seeking funding from council members. So there are lots of different ways that we're hoping to expand our presence there now that since we're a growing organization and since we now have a track record for success in 3 regions.
What do you consider and we've got about a minute and a half, what are the biggest obstacles to success for this cohort of young people?
I think one of the biggest obstacles is really just having the confidence and really feeling like they belong in a corporate environment. And so we do a lot of things intentionally along the way to kind of break down any sort of barriers around confidence. So for example, we host our workshops at corporate partner sites. So students will come and say, I've looked at these beautiful buildings on the outside my whole life. I never thought I would belong there, let alone I'd be in there in a business suit learning about future professions. And so I think that within itself is something that's really important. It's creating that confidence, which will then help students to persist and persevere, even and so that they don't really have anything to get them off track as they're getting to their diploma and their first job.
I think we have about 30 seconds, but you say you're trying to expand the program to bring in more students, more mentors.
Right. We know that to move the needle on that 11% graduation rate, we need to create systemic change. And in order to do that, while we've learned so much from the Fellows Program, and we're really excited to grow our Fellows Program in all of our sites as well as in other sites across the country, we want to explore new models for scale. So we will be exploring a school-based model. Colleges from all over the country have been reaching out and saying, how do I bring America Needs You to my school? And so we want to create a tool so that schools can run the program and we can create more fellows and enhance the network and create more corporate partnerships and more internships for students. So that's something that we'll be finalizing in early 2016, and we'll be moving forward with that as well as growing the Fellows Program and a number of other new initiatives.
Well, it's really a fascinating sounding, certainly worthwhile program. And I was very pleased to learn about it because I didn't know about it before.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're out of time, but I do want to thank Kimberly Harris, CEO of America Needs You, for joining us. And if you'd like to learn more about the organization or get involved, you can go to its website at americaneedsyou.org. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Cheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.